man, what a game, what an atmosphere, what an outcome if you're an Alabama fan, what a heartbreaker if you're an Auburn fan. But just my reaction, and as I've had a couple of hours now to think about it, I still do not understand what Auburn was doing defensively.
Oh,
it makes it. Every time I watch it, I'm like, why are you rushing two people? It makes no sense to give him what was clocked at 6.3 seconds to plant, set, and throw a football.
Well, if you are going to give him 6 seconds and you are only sending 2, how in the hell do you get one-on-one coverage in the corner of the end zone?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, that's what is amazing. And just watching that play open up, when he let it go, I was like, oh, my God. They just won this game.
Did you really? So ball in the air? Yeah.
Yeah, ball in the air when I saw that Isaiah Bond had a one-on-one situation. Look, everybody talks about the throw, and the throw was great. The catch was incredible, too.
Right.
Because that was a missile.
And so was the separation, a little push to get a little separation.
Yeah.
It's legal. You know,
there was hand fighting going on the whole time.
Yeah.
I know people, if you're an Auburn fan, you want to call it a push-off. It was not a push-off.
Yeah.
Nick Saban said there was a little bit of luck and a little bit of skill. I think that's a great way of describing that play.
Yeah.
I think the luck you drew is that Auburn gave you a very beneficial defense for that play. That's luck. You can't control any of that, right? The skill is, and I will credit Tommy Rees and Nick Saban and whoever makes this call, not running, hey, everybody just run group up, we're just going to throw a Hail Mary. Or, let's just, somebody try. You ran a play that you have practiced. I mean, this was a practiced play. This is not something they drew up in the dirt. This was not some everybody bunch up and let's hope we get lucky.
Yeah, try to catch a tip.
This was a practiced, skilled play. I mean, I can't say enough about Alabama's coaches. They, maybe Auburn had the edge on the coaching all day with the scheme or whatever. Alabama outcoached Auburn on the key play of the game, and it's the reason Alabama still has a shot at a national championship.
Man,
crazy play.
It looked like Alabama was doing it perfectly after they picked up that fourth down. It's first and goal to goal at the 7.
And you're forcing Auburn to use timeouts.
Yeah, and now Hugh's burning through timeouts.
Yep.
The clock's ticking. You can almost see it inside of a minute. They're going to punch it over for the go-ahead touchdown. So it's first and 7. And then all of a sudden, 3 consecutive plays from a first and 7 goal to go, you end up losing yardage on every
disaster.
play. Yeah. I mean, the wheels were falling off.
Yeah, and at that first and 7, I thought, hell, just run the ball. Like, you probably get in, clock's done, game's over. And then the second down play, when you lose 18, that was a complete disaster. And then the very next play, what was Jalen thinking, crossing the line by, 2 or 3 yards?
It's only the second time he had done it that day, Lance. Back off.
Such a weird game. And then fourth down. I mean, that's almost – I mean, when you do percentages, like the kick six, we've never seen it before. It's still the wildest finish I've ever seen. But the percentage of somebody running a kick back when you don't have a proper kick coverage on the field is probably easier than what you got there on 4th and 31.
Yeah, I'd almost rather have to do that than complete a 4th and 31. Yeah, I'm with Lance. I mean, neither one of them are great odds.
All you have to do is turn around if you're the defensive back.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do. You got to have a little vision.
And arguably, to me, he's their best defensive back. And it just, having to cover somebody, it doesn't sound like a long time. But for 6.3 seconds, having to, now, to me, I don't, man-to-man is questionable, but you can't double-team everybody. And hats off to Jalen Milroe, because if you look at the different breakdowns after the game, and they show it from the sky cam, so you're behind Jalen, and they circle, and it's like, okay, Auburn's got, it's a single coverage out here on the edge. It's double on this guy, double on this guy, double on this guy, and single on this edge. So they're double on the 3 guys in the middle and single on the 2 on the edges. And Jalen's able to pick that and say, okay, I'm going to take my shot, single coverage, back left corner.
But remarkably, if you go back and look, he's got a couple touchdown passes there. Even with the defense Auburn ran, I think Milroe had a couple TD passes out there, which is insane to think about.
Right before he lets it go, he's already looking away, but Jermaine Burton cuts away from his double team.
Waving like a madman.
Right across about a yard deep in the end zone when everyone else is in the back of the end zone. And I thought that was when he did that and did his arms like that, I was like, oh, that's where you got to throw it. And then I see the ball selling from where I was on the sidelines. I was like, oh, Burton was wide open.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Alabama fans go crazy.
But when the ball's going to be in the air 35 yards, you've got to have visual contact on that. And I know it's difficult when you're talking about, a guy is able to sit back in the pocket for 6 seconds before he actually releases the football. But DJ James was the guy that was on Isaiah Bond, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to locate that ball because if
Yeah.
he turns around at any point, he's going to have an opportunity to bat the ball down.
You mentioned the defense and rushing 2. I'm never like that, even on Hail Marys.
It's dumb as hell.
But the dumber part to me was having the spy out there. You took Eugene Asante and he did nothing. Like, why are you spying Jalen Milroe?
He ain't running 35 yards.
You would love him to, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you'd
At
love
that point,
him to try.
you don't need a spy at that point. You know who the spies are? The 8 guys in the
That's
end
right.
zone can come up at that
So
point.
Eugene Asante just stands there. Now, if he spies for a second and then rushes, late rush, and maybe gets a gap, okay, great. But no, he just stands there. So now you're 11
I got a
on
theory
10
on this, by the way.
Okay, you're 11 on 10 at that point, right?
Yep.
Your 2 pass rushers end up just dancing with the offensive line.
Yeah.
They're non-factors
They're
in that
both
play.
double teamed.
Yeah, they're nowhere to go. So really, Alabama ran that play 11 on 8. When
Yeah.
when you start to break it down, I mean, the numbers didn't benefit Auburn as much as they could have. Now, I'm not saying you drop everybody into coverage, but I am saying you wasted 3 players. If you're not going to try to pressure Milroe, at least get him to move a little bit. He just stood there and bounced and scanned and watched everything.
Yeah.
He knew the plays, watching it unfold. You ran that play 11 on 8 if you're Auburn. I mean, there's really no other way around those numbers.
Here's my take. I haven't heard it from anywhere else.
Oh,
This
good.
is all Jim
We got a
take.
fresh Dunaway take.
I thought of this last night. I would imagine the Auburn coaches went up to the officials before the play, and they said, now you watch their linemen and see if they get downfield trying to block our middleman.
Oh, so you think they tried to bait in a lineman going downfield?
Yep. And hats off to the guy who has jacked up some snaps all year long for not taking the bait and going down too far and engaging that one player sitting out there for Auburn.
Would have been dumb on his part. But,
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm
I
sure
thought they were
Alabama,
trying to bait him.
Yeah.
that
That's
staff
interesting.
was saying, whatever you do,
Yeah.
Don't go
They're-
Don't go downfield.
Guys,
We're gonna have-
Jalen ain't running, so
right.
you stay right where you are.
Just pass protect.
It was so I watched it with girlfriend. She had never watched an Iron Bowl before, and so after we got a few people over, 2 Alabama fans, and they were actually pretty contained, believe it or not. I mean, they were obviously excited after the touchdown there. But when it panned to the crowd and people were crying, she was like, "What is going on?"
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like the human emotion. She
I
was
was
not
like,
prepared for it.
"You just don't understand the
Yeah.
magnitude of this game."
That is 2 straight times at Jordan-Hare where I have stood on the sideline at the end of the game watching Auburn fans prepared to rush the field, and at the last moment have it ripped away from them and seen the tears. I mean, there is real human emotion that is involved in this game. And, I mean, you saw it on both sides. You saw the celebration of the Alabama fans who pulled a win out of nowhere. And then you saw the emotion of the Auburn fans. You saw tears in the stands. I mean, I know CBS showed it, but, buddy, I'm telling you, being there in person, you saw a lot
Dude,
more
and
of it.
there is something about that stadium.
It's wild, isn't it?
It's so fun. It is so fun to be there for that game at that place.
I thought the play of the game was going to be where Milroe scrambles down to get it to 4th and, a foot or 2 when they went to Roydale. That stop, the collision there.
I mean, what a play.
Yeah,
by
I
Pritchard,
was
yeah.
like, my gosh, because, you got Milroe running full speed, and to be able to stop him dead in his tracks to set up a 4th down.
It was a car wreck.
Yeah, it really was, and did not like the call going outside there.
I didn't either in real time. Now, I asked in the postgame, I asked actually Nick Saban to describe it.
You
did?
did.
To tell me what's happening there. And once he described it and I went back and watched it, I liked it a lot more because I'm with you. I like the sneak. But he described it, so I went back and watched it. I was on the field, so I'm watching it field level. I'm like, whoa, boy, that was a big risk. But when you went back and watched it, it was genius what they did, really. They get to the line early, make Auburn stay on the line.
Pretty shocking. Nobody moved by Alabama.
I
by the way.
know, really. They're able to look and see that Auburn, their numbers are inside. They're trying to take away the quarterback sneak, so they know they've only got to make the one block. And you've got that fullback in motion to make the block.
I know, but that was a great. I thought the Auburn defender did a great
he
job
played it perfect.
firing up the field.
No doubt.
Because that's a slippery field this time of year because they overseed it to keep it green. And the cut that Roydale had to make because of that guy just firing out there like that.
I just think there's too many things that can go wrong going outside. I'll give you an example. I don't know if you guys.
I think they thought it might be a touchdown. I think they thought they had a touchdown on that play based on the alignment.
Gotcha. Well, but Milroe seems like a safe option based on this brotherly shove we've been watching. He seems like a safe option to be able to pick you up a yard up the middle. Yesterday we had the Jaguars -1.5 on the road against Texans. Really good game. I don't know if you guys watched it.
I saw the end.
But right before the half, there was a busted cover, and Christian Kirk goes out on the 1 yard line. And so Doug Peterson's got to make a decision. Do we kick the field goal to go up 16, or do we go for the touchdown to go up 20?
You've only got the one play.
One play, and you've got a 6'6" Trevor Lawrence on the goal line. And they throw it wide to Travis Etienne, he gets taken down for a loss of 1. There's just, to me, going up the middle with a big physical quarterback is the way to go on those.
The reason I asked Nick Saban that question, though, Dunaway, is because I'm standing, and Milroe clearly checks off to something. I'm like, boy, in that situation, for Milroe to check off is ballsy, because if that doesn't work,
the ball game's over.
Game is over, and that's why I asked the question, and Saban clarified that it's an automatic checkoff. That he goes to the line, you bark to try to draw them off sides and get the cheap first down, and if they don't jump, which Auburn did not, he tried to draw them off. If they don't jump, you look to the line of you look to the sidelines, and we're going to tell you either sneak it or go outside. So the call was made from the sidelines. That's the reason I asked, is because you could tell Milroe checked off, and I was like, boy, for him to check off in that situation.
Let's get some of the emotions of this game. Let's go Hugh Freeze first, cut number 1. And this is just the heartbreaking emotion. I mean, New Mexico State beat this team for 60 minutes by 3 touchdowns, 31-10. For 60 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Auburn did not stand a chance to beat New Mexico State. They controlled that game beginning to end. And then Hugh Freeze had to pick up the pieces and come in, as we said they would all week long, to have a different-looking Auburn team on the field and a different plan against Alabama. And then to have it ripped away at the end, you can only imagine what Hugh Freeze in his Auburn locker room was feeling.
First, really proud of our kids and the way they fought and prepared. But obviously it stinks to not get the win tonight. And we didn't play good enough in the critical moments. Had a turnover with probably 3 minutes to go or 4 minutes to go, and then obviously didn't execute fourth and whatever it was there. And then it really came down to those few plays in a game like this. But man, it's a lot of hurt in that locker room, and it stinks. Our kids gave themselves a chance to win the Iron Bowl tonight, and that's going to stick with us for a while.
Yeah. Now, listen, the coaches got them in a position to win the game, but I do feel like the coaches let them down at the end.
100%.
I just did not like the last play. And then, okay, your main punt guy can't go out there because of a hamstring. Is that what we're hearing? That maybe it was a hammy?
I think that's what he said on social media, is that he took himself out, if I'm not mistaken.
So now you don't have your normal punt return guy out. Let me ask you, if you don't even put anybody back to field that punt, if you just let it roll around back there, is there a chance Auburn still wins the football game? Yes.
There's a chance. That's easy to say right now, but if you don't do that, that ball probably rolls inside the 10. You're pinned way down. You got to run at that point. Alabama knows run is coming. They got a chance to stop you and get the ball back out at midfield with timeouts. I wouldn't like that strategy, no. I mean, in hindsight, it's a much better strategy than what happened, but that's ultimate hindsight right there.
Yeah, and this season is going to be remembered for these last 2 games for New Mexico State.
I was going to get to this.
And it's going to be remembered for 4th and 31. Look, Hugh Freeze, to me, I still think he did a B+, A-like job getting this team to 6-6. And having them this prepared after a bad loss to New Mexico State. He did it with an awful quarterback.
He did.
He is, I would assume, is going to have a much better option at quarterback in year 2.
I don't think it can get much worse.
I don't think it could either.
Yeah.
91 passing, 93 for the team, 91 for Peyton Thorne in this game. But they had 3 guys that were over 50 yards rushing, and they ran for 244 yards against Alabama. It just felt like, and maybe it's the immediate emotions after the game, and I haven't talked to any of the Auburn people up here that we work with, but the people that I play golf with and spend a lot of my life with who are Auburn people, it felt like Hugh lost a little bit of the honeymoon period the last 2 weeks.
Oh, I don't know if I'd go
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far.
I mean, I'm not saying a divorce is
Oh,
going
no, I get that.
I think Auburn fans-
But Nick Saban was 6-6 in that first year, right? He lost to Auburn. He lost to Louisiana Monroe in the final month.
I mean, the Auburn fans I have heard from were encouraged by it. Now, again, I remember, and I said this on the postgame show, I remember that same feeling leaving the Iron Bowl in 2009 when people were like, man, look at that. Gene Chizik played the national champion to a one-possession game. Future is bright. And you end up firing Gene Chizik, going to national championship. I think the height of Harson's era at Auburn was coming out of last year, or the 2 years ago Iron Bowl. I think it's the best it ever got for Brian Harsin.
Right, because you left that field saying, man, that Alabama team with Bryce Young, who went on to win the Heisman, Auburn should have won the game.
But that said, I think there are reasons to be optimistic for Hugh Freeze. I haven't noticed that. I haven't noticed that he burned any goodwill. I think fans understand he's got to make some changes, but I think they feel like they were in a game they weren't supposed to be in. Everybody wants to call that a moral victory and call it whatever you want, but I do feel like that's the general feeling among Auburn fans.
Offensive coordinator back next year?
Probably not.
Defensive coordinator back next year?
I don't. Before the last 2 weeks, I don't know that I would have said Ron Roberts is in trouble, but I think you got to evaluate it.
Yeah, I mean, how close is he to Hugh Freeze?
I really don't know.
Yeah.
They've coached together before.
But the rushing two at the end is not an Auburn problem. That's a universal problem. Rushing two, rushing three is a universal problem in football.
Well, it's
giving them too much time to throw Hail Marys.
Yeah, I do think it's the thing you worry about. Like, I think it's where the offense always has the advantage in that situation, is that the defense doesn't know what to do with their front. And again, Auburn just took three guys out of the play is what they did. Yeah. And that's why if you're going to fire Ron Roberts, that's one of the things that you probably consider, was that strategy of we're going to play Alabama 8-on-11 the last play. That's just a bad strategy. Now, you can only send 5 guys out, so technically you were 8-on-5.